everybody. Welcome to our Thursday, October 13th webinar. Normally, Jean Borum is hosting this, but she's got a little bit of a virus cold and audio is not quite as clear as she'd like it to be, so asked me if I could host today. We've got 3 Signworld owners that have joined us, waiting for the third one to just finish logging in. She's coming in there now. So we'll have a chance to interview them. Ask questions. When you do, make it a simple one question, make it open-ended, and we'll let each of the owners answer from their perspective. When it comes to my turn, if it goes to my speaking from my 10 years running a Signworld operation, I'll speak from that perspective. If it goes more to training and policy, I'll speak from that. Why don't we go ahead first and let our Signworld owners introduce themselves, tell you where they're located, how long they've been around, how big the facility is, how many employees they have, what their biggest project customer to date is, and what their former background was, or what their last job title career was. Mark, let's start with you.
Okay, the name of my business is Big Mouth Signs, Inc. We are located in the Atlanta, Georgia metro market. We've been in business for 18 and a half years, starting on May 1st, 2004. How large is our facility? We actually have 3 facilities. We have a 4,000 square foot sales and clean production facility directly across the parking lot. We have a 4,000 square foot dirty production facility. And I am out of room in my clean production facility. I have more people than I have space for them. So I signed a lease on the eastern part of my zip code territory for another 2,500 square foot that has a nice size clean production area and room for about five cubicles. So that's I guess combined about 10,500 square feet. I have 17 employees now, and our 2022 sales projection will be somewhere between 2.5 million and 2.7 million, depending on how many things we can get closed out prior to the end of the year. We right now have about $1.5 million in WIP and have 251 current projects. Our biggest customer is a physical therapy chain with stores from Georgia to the Northeast, all the way over to Washington State, Seattle, Portland area. And background career, I spent too much time in specialty retail as a district manager and regional sales manager for major footwear and sporting goods companies.
Excellent. How much do you plan on doing with that physical therapy franchise?
What's the question?
How much do you expect the revenue from that physical therapy customer?
This year, about $1.5 million. We've spent an extra $150,000 this year in payroll, getting ready for a project with them that will add between 100 and 125 locations at $8,000 to $10,000 a location per quarter. And so they keep moving it back because of the cost of the rising costs of build outs and so on. It was supposed to start first quarter of this year. It got moved to the second quarter and then the fourth quarter, and now and then the first quarter of this coming year, and now it's July of this coming year. So but we've spent a lot of money going from 2 designers to 6 designers, and 3 project managers to 6 project managers. simply because you're adding 125 transactions at $10,000 a transaction. That's $1.25 million a quarter. And so that's what we're prepping for.
Fantastic, fantastic. Congratulations. Margie Haig, tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. So my business is called American Sign Studio. We turned 4 years old in June. I'll go through my list of questions here, Jack. We have around 1,800 square feet with 4 full-time employees, 2 part-time, and some 1099 for like bookkeeping, CPA, and licensed sign erectors. Our sales projection is probably, well, fingers crossed, depending on November, December, 900,000. And our biggest customer this year is actually different than what it was last year. It's now a commercial real estate company. So we used to have our biggest customer was a bank, which they still are part of the mix, but we're kind of reinventing how we work with them. And so now the landlord that we currently actually lease from is our biggest customer, with 6 properties that we're doing right now. And then we're moving to a national account with them in 8 other markets.
So how much did you do with that property management company this year? What do you expect the future to be with that?
It's going to be probably closer to $300,000 with the 6 that we have here in Columbus. And then sky's the limit with what happens with each of the properties in the other markets. It's going to depend on site visits and what the scope is.
Very good, very good. Your husband Paul joined you in the business, what, a year ago?
It'll be 2 years in February.
Wow, time flies.
Yeah.
And what was your background before this?
So like Mark, I came from retail. I was in manufacturing, production, and sourcing. So that was really understanding how project management worked has helped me a lot in this role. And also working with designers. So I would say our differentiator is that we are a design-driven sign company. And that's really what we focus on is branding.
Very good, very good. And Corbin, what about you?
Hi, everyone. My name is Corbin Rowley. The name of my business is Timpanogos Custom Signs. And we are named after the 11,000-foot peak that kind of dominates Utah Valley, which is where Provo, Utah is centrally located. We're just about an hour south of Salt Lake City in the Utah market. I've been in business now for 19 months. And my facility is just under 2,000 square feet, and we are busting at the seams right now. After adding the 5x10 CNC, we have barely room to bring in a vehicle for vehicle wraps and graphics out in the production area. We have 3 employees. I added the 3rd employee last week. Excited about adding someone with about 20 years of sign experience to the team. My 2022 sales projections are between 1.1 and 1.2 million. We've booked 972 as of today. And the biggest customer is a express car wash, Tag and Go. They are expanding into the northern Utah market, opening 8 to 10 locations a year, and they selected me to do all of their signs. And we're very excited about that. We've done about $250,000 with them so far, and that's only about the first 5 locations. So we've got a lot more of that kind of work coming up. The single biggest project that I've done, we're actually working on right now, which is the demolition of a couple monument signs for a technical college. And then we are replacing them and adding a 3rd. And that project is $80,400 in retail. My background, I spent 13 years in the trade show and event industry in project management and then executive operational leadership of some national exhibit houses, working on some amazing accounts and their national exhibit and event programs until COVID. And but the lessons that I learned in trade shows and events have certainly served me well, opening my own sign company.
Very good. Very good. I'm Jack Werner. I joined Signworld back in 1995. Back in the days when we had yellow pages, digital panel plotters, and no digital printing. And we were more of a retail banner shop for the neighborhood at the time, more than anything. I ran that operation for 10 years. I started in 1,100 square feet with one employee, ended up in 5,000 square feet with a staff of 11. I then joined Ken Kind, our founder, at the corporate office in kind of a partnership relationship to learn his end of the business, finish buying him out in 2014. I'm now the president of Signworld. Again, when I answer questions, I'll speak from either my running an operation or from corporate side. My largest customer was a regional developer for Subway and did about $250,000 a year, year after year with that one Subway's master franchisee. Because Subway changes every single sign every 4 years. So you think once they're there, they're permanent, but yet they keep changing the logo. Ken, introduce yourself.
I'm Ken Kent. I'm the founder of Signworld 35 years ago, right here in Honolulu, Hawaii. My largest customer was Bank of Hawaii. They found me. Over the years, did millions of dollars worth of signage with them. Still involved with Signworld, still teach class to the new owners, sales and marketing class, and still somewhat involved in the business. Happy to answer all your questions today.
Very good.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and open it up to our guests here. Tim, you're the first one to log in. Why don't you introduce yourself, let us know where you're from, and go ahead and ask an open-ended question, then we'll let each of the owners answer from their perspective.
Yeah, I'm TJ Godel, and I don't know, what am I supposed to do?
where are you located? And
I'm located in Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay.
And so that's why my question goes to Mark. How come he has a Husker helmet in the background there?
Same reason I'm a Cincinnati Reds fan. I'm not a bandwagon sports fan. I'm a diehard. Rain, snow, sleet, or hail.
Okay.
Was there a business question that you wanted to ask to the owners here, TJ?
How long before you started turning a profit?
Okay. Mark, your operation a little bit different in that you bought an existing Signworld owner and went from there. So what's your story?
I purchased a shop that had been in business for 6 years, and we were doing about 300,000. They were doing 300,000 roughly when I bought it, and we made a profit every year.
Margie, what about you?
Profit is in the beginning is tougher, but what I can say now is we've replaced a 6-figure income. It's what we're paying ourselves, and we're not losing money. We're really happy with how the business has progressed. It's kind of hard to say because we were, so young, and then COVID to really say that you could be profitable during that year. We did not kill it, but we didn't, we did the same amount of money the year of COVID as we actually a little bit better than the previous year.
Very good. Very good. And Corbin?
Yeah, similar to Margie, I replaced my 6-figure income, and so that kind of messes with the figures a little bit. And I've reinvested.
Would you say that you were cash positive on a monthly basis, not paying yourself, but having the business being self-supporting?
That happened month 6 and has continued ever since. And then I've reinvested a bunch of the profits into the business.
And we would say that our average owner is breaking even cash on cash on a monthly basis at month 6. Some do it a little bit sooner, some do a bit longer, but the average runs to month 6. Chris, introduce yourself and tell us who you are. Come off the mute.
Good afternoon, folks, or good morning, perhaps. Chris Carabinos, I live in Atlanta too, so good to hear your story, Mark. I'm coming out of technology myself. My question, sort of a two-part question, what's the most unexpected challenge you had in the first year? And the flip side of that coin, what's the most pleasant surprise you had in the first year?
Okay. Good question. Questions. Mark?
I'm going to answer the question by saying that as far as the unexpected challenge, I think for most people it would be just understanding the sign business. And I don't mean to make it sound like it's really complicated. It's not. But one of the things you really need to do is establish a strong base of vendors, a strong base of installers, a strong base of those specialists. I think Margie mentioned earlier, a bookkeeper, et cetera, et cetera. I was fortunate in that I made an agreement with the previous owner that I would work for him for free for 6 months. I'm sorry, for 6 weeks. And in exchange, he would introduce me to all of his key customers and all of the key vendors. And that was huge. It allowed me, the day I took over, I knew how to do quotes. I knew where to get aluminum from. I knew where to get vinyl from, and so on and so forth. And so that was big for me. What was the most pleasant surprise? One of the greatest things about being in the sign business is you drive down the street and you see projects that you played a role in. There's a Mexican restaurant that I initially sold signs to 18 years ago, and the owner of the restaurant drove a beat up Camry, and he just opened his 5th location. It's the Taj Mahal of Mexican restaurants. It's the #1 rated Mexican restaurant in the city of Atlanta. And he drives a Porsche SUV, and his wife drives an even nicer car. And so you get the opportunity to establish relationships and watch the financial success of your customers, and their kids go to better schools and they go to better colleges. And it's really, really a rewarding part of the sign business.
Very good. Very good.
And are you eating tacos a lot?
I eat tacos too often.
Margie, what was your biggest challenge? What was your biggest plus?
Sure. I agree with everything that Mark said. So I'll say something that sounds a little bit different. I think website and how to do pay-per-click and Google AdWords, every time you learn something that they do or some kind of metric, they change it or they evolve it so that they can you can get smarter at that. So I always say the more I know about it, the less I know. So once I finally realized I needed help with that, and having somebody manage the pay-per-clicks for me, that really helped us get on track. And then also, I would say my biggest surprise was just our community involvement and how much that became part of my life. In corporate, you just don't have exposure to that, and meeting all the people in your business community, and that has been amazing. And it's turned into all kinds of accolades and invites to fun events, and then that leads to new business and new introductions, more networking. It's been a really pleasant surprise.
Very good. Very good. Corbin, what are your answers to those 2 questions?
Yeah, certainly. So I don't know that I would call it unexpected because the Signworld team prepares you as much as possible early on, but cash flow, right, was probably my biggest challenge, as Jack and Dan can attest, because they were on weekly or bi-weekly calls with me in August when I felt like maybe the wheels were falling off and, the cash had dried up, and, trying to figure out how to bring that back around, which turned into my 6 month where the business really turned around and took off. So not unexpected, but still a challenge, right? That we as owners need to be prepared for to ensure we're not underfunded. Probably the most pleasant surprise for me has been my team. I've had my first sign maker with me now for almost a year and a half. And at about the, 4 or 5 month mark, so about the same time we were turning the business around, everything started to click with her. And then adding the additional team members, it's been really great to build a team that I can confidently leave. I'm working from home this morning, watching my 3 little girls while my wife is traveling with our 2 older kids. So it's wonderful to build a team that I can trust and step away from when I need to.
Very good, very good. I would say that it's probably your biggest challenge is your biggest weakness. If you haven't managed production people before, it's learning that. If you haven't had customer interface, it's learning that. If you don't understand QuickBooks for small business person, so it's figuring out what those are and then hiring to manage those. We all come with challenges. That's why we try not to do it solo, why we join an organization. I'd say the biggest thing for me was realizing how big this business can get. How you can leverage from one customer to the next, how the referrals of this grow and grow, and the repeatable customers that want to come back and want to do more with you. It's not a one and done business. It's really does become relational. Ken, would you have something to add?
Probably just repeat. I think if you were to poll most Signworld owners, the biggest challenge is people. And it's not only hiring, it's hiring, training, leading, and motivating them. And it takes time and it takes energy. So you have to make sure you put your focus there. The biggest surprise, ditto to what Jack said, it amazed me at how soon big projects came in the door. Once you get the word out, it's amazing how much work there is out there.
Mark, how about you? What's your question that you'd like to ask?
Sure. Thanks, first of all, for the invitation and allowing me to join. My name is Mark Bieberstein, by the way. I'm in Los Angeles. And actually, I currently work in healthcare software. I'm an implementation project manager. And I'll just say right off the top here, Jack just invited me just earlier today to this call. And again, I appreciate that. So I'm in a very early stage, very much a discovery phase of where I'm looking to go next with my career. So I guess my question is, well, and before I ask my question, I'll say I have never run my own business. So I think my question is kind of related to that. And I'd love to get input from the group here, just in regards to running your own business. I guess maybe it's a 2-part question. First part being, have you run your own business before, or is this your first time as a business owner? And then second part of the question would just be kind of general advice. What would you say to someone like me who's considering starting their own business for the first time? Because I'll tell you, I definitely have some anxiety and some butterflies about doing that, and jumping off and taking that plunge. So that's my question.
First off, I can tell you, Mark, that of all 350 Signworld owners, probably less than 4 or 5% of them have ever run a business before. We're all coming out of jobs. We're all coming.
Okay.
So, okay. Mark, what's your answer to his question of how do you handle that bridge?
Well, first of all, I had never owned my own business. I had managed businesses for years, but you know, there's a pretty big difference when it's your money that you're spending. You know, I think that it's that analogy that, you know, the great thing about not having any experience is you don't have any experience at bad habits. You know, I host a number of people that, you know, that visit my store and to talk about Signworld. And, you know, they're in the discovery process, and, you know, you'll meet them. And one of the things I always try to establish with people is, you know, if you think that you're going to just, you know, build out the store, open the door, and a stream of people are going to come in and place orders with you, then it's probably best that you not do this. That this is a business that is dependent on your ability to establish relationships, not just relationships with customers, but also relationships with your employees. And if you have the capability of doing that, I personally am somewhat of an introvert, believe it or not. And I struggle in social settings. My palms sweat and I stammer, and I'm just not that great at it. But you learn to be. And if you have the capability of having a conversation, and if you understand that your success is dependent on you helping them be successful, then you can overcome any perceived lack of experience that you think you might have.
Margie, what are your thoughts?
So yes, our American Sign Studio is a new venture. I didn't ever own my own business, but I always say, you know, did you work hard in your previous role? Are you planning on doing anything less in your new role when it's your money and your opportunity? The answer to that question is whether you want to do that for yourself or for another person. And you can make your own opportunities that way. You can build your own culture, your own team, all of that. And I came from a kind of toxic corporate environment where people weren't very valued. And that's really a big thing for us here, that people enjoy where they work, that they feel valued, they feel heard, personal and professional improvement. All of that is part of what we get to do for not just ourselves, but our team. That trickles into our community. It's really completely rewarding. And to do it for yourself and know that that's going to hit your bottom line makes it all worth it.
Very good. Corbin, your thoughts?
I'm probably going to answer the second part of the question first, because I was speaking to my wife a couple of months ago, and I looked at her and I said, you know what, honey, I will never go back to working for somebody else. This is exactly what I wanted to do. Despite the challenges and the hard times, you know, that pair with the good times, I had never owned or operated my own business before. I'd always been kind of a managing director for others and making their businesses profitable and implementing systems and processes and leading the teams. And I found that I gained great satisfaction from doing it for myself, and for the same reasons that Mark and Margie talked about, to help my customers with whatever it is that they're trying to do, right? With signage, we can address that in so many different ways. And I love to see the projects that I've worked on the way home. I point them out to my kids, to my friends and my family, and I'm proud of the work that I do for these customers that have become my friends.
Very good. You know, my comment, Mark, most of us looking at this probably didn't think about starting a business on our own until we really figured out where we were in life and what the corporate world was going to be and where it was going to go. And it's scary in the beginning to think the potential of trying to do this, but you've got to do your homework. You've got to have a lot of conversations with us at the corporate office. You've got to read through a lot of information that you can glean. You got to watch more of these webinars that we have recorded. You've got to do your homework. And then from there, you've got to talk to other existing Signworld owners and compare yourself. The first one might be the Energizer Bunny, who you can never keep up with. Second one, you might feel you'd be able to run ahead of. And third one, you're on par with. You've got to talk to enough others to figure out, can I do it and would I enjoy doing it? It's a journey. It's not a talk to one of these and sign your papers. It's going through a whole process to figure out if you're a fit, and for us to vet you as well to figure out if we believe you're going to be capable. We can't promise your success. We're going to work hard to help you be successful. We want to bring in those that we believe have that viability to do that. Ken?
Freedom. Freedom. The freedom that you don't have to go to your boss and ask permission to do something. You are the boss. You can control your life. You can do anything you want. As Corbin is doing, you can blend your personal life with your business life and pull it all off. The freedom is the greatest joy. That's all.
We're going to show a couple of slideshows in the background. There's no audio film, so we'll continue the conversation while they go on. The first one shows some of the operations, both inside and out, so you can see what operations look like. The second slideshow goes to what is a sign. Not only the two-dimensional production that you would do in-house with your own staff, your own equipment as a beginning operation, but then also showing the outsourced things, the things that you're not going to have the equipment to do until you get deeper in the business, and bringing in more equipment as Corbin has done and started to do, and as Mark has done. And the third part of that slideshow showing some things that you wouldn't even consider as a sign, just part of the portfolio of what we do. The third slideshow goes to our Wall of Fame, showing some of the bigger, more unique work projects and what you grow into later. So we'll continue the conversation while we do that. Let's go back to TJ. What's your second question?
Who's your competition?
That's a great question. And Mark, when Chris said before he's in Atlanta, same market as you, is there a concern that there's another one coming? Is there concern that you would have another competitor out there? So to speak not only to competition in the marketplace, but also having other Signworld owners around you.
There's really absolutely no concern at all. When there's a new Signworld owner in Atlanta, I every single time extend my hand and say, you know, anything you need, you need to get a list of vendors, you need to get a list of installers. Jack hit it on the head when he said it's amazing how much business there is out there. And probably 10 years ago, I was having a conversation with somebody and they said, you realize there's 675 sign companies inside the city limits of Atlanta, not Atlanta metro area, but the city limits of Atlanta. So what does it matter if there's 675 or there's 676? Doesn't affect me.
Margie, your thoughts on competition and having other Signworld owners around you?
I'm not sure if you know this about our industry, but in my first year, my biggest customer was another sign company. There's just certain things that you might do better than somebody else, or maybe they can outsource their labor to you. So that actually is a gigantic benefit in what happens in our industry. I wouldn't consider anybody a real competition, really just a different specialty. In fact, from where I'm sitting at my desk, I can see another sign company, their back door. So literally where we share a parking lot, and across the street is another sign company. It's irrelevant. It doesn't affect my business at all. I don't consider them competitors, actually friends, and they just do different work. And I know that what we do and what our differentiator is what drives our business, and they know what they do and their differentiator drives their business.
And what about collaboration with other Signworld owners?
For sure. I mean, that happens almost at this point, weekly. In the beginning, it was my very first job was from a Signworld in Colorado, and I learned a gigantic amount installing a banner on a 2-story building and parking lot signs. It was a lot of fun.
Very good. Corbin, your thoughts on competition?
Competition has really been non-existent for me. I want to share, though, a phone call that I received yesterday. It's from the general manager of visibility signs and graphics in Salt Lake City, another Signworld owner or Signworld organization. He called me yesterday to develop a partnership with installers. He's looking for help, and he turns to me. And that's just one of the benefits you get from the company. I'm within 10 minutes of my location. There are 3 sign operations that are doing in excess of 3 million a year. One of which has become one of my very good partners and has helped me grow and to support my largest customer, the car wash. And so you develop these relationships, cooperative relationships, where you're helping one another. They send business that they don't want to me, and I have them make signs for me. So it's all about what you do. Jack, I think, gave me some wonderful advice when we started out, and he said, go find the 10 sign companies close to you. Walk in, introduce yourself, say hello, and then just kind of see what happens. And in doing that, I've developed some really great relationships with some, and I know some others that I want to go after.
Excellent. When I opened 27 years ago, I had 10 within 1 mile of my operation, 300 in the county. I could have said I'm too late. And I looked at it as opportunity. I said, if there's that many sign companies out there, there's got to be a lot of business, because otherwise, why would they even be there? But I think if you look at the competition, breaking the market down, well, there's 22,000 sign companies out there, and there's 15 sign franchise organizations. Only 9% of those 22,000 sign companies are franchises. They have 9% of the market. That leaves, with Signworld having 1.5%, that leaves independents having almost 90% of the market. Now, there's some good legitimate sign companies out there that take your Coca-Cola and Marriott and Microsoft and whatever, all the big Fortune companies. And they probably have 5-7% of the market. That leaves almost 80% of the total market to independents. Most sign companies aren't owned by business people. They're owned by a former sign maker. One of those employees you might have hired, who over years saved up nickels to become his own boss. But he spent years in a scenario of, hey, boss, I'm done with the last job. What do you want me to work on next? I'm now done with that one. What's next? And so they're doers. They're not planners. They've got their head in their sand. That means they don't show up for the appointment on schedule. They don't deliver the quote as promised. Rarely do they deliver the product on time, on budget. So they're sign makers trying to run a business. What we're trying to do is the opposite of that. Bring in corporate people that understand building relationships, understand multitasking, understand juggling multiple projects. And we become business people running a sign company rather than sign makers trying to run a business. Most plumbers and electricians are former doers trying to juggle. And so it's their ineptness that becomes our biggest advantage. Ken, your thoughts?
If you answer the phone, show up on time for the appointment, deliver the product on time and on spec, you will always be busy. The question is, how good are you at going after the next bigger customer rather than being caught in the trap of just doing what comes in automatically? That's all.
So our goal here is to teach you how to work on the business, not being stuck working in the business. Chris, what's your next question?
What percentage of your business is repeat business?
Well, that grows in the beginning. It grows from there. Corbin, you're a little bit of an anomaly that you've got a couple of big customers, but if you take out those two big customers, how is your percentage of repeat customers growing from beginning to now?
So it is growing. I would say I have 10 customers that are repeat business. Landlords are great. Property management companies are great. I have a new data center that they spend a lot of money with us on repeat projects. So percentage wise, my repeat customers are about half of my business right now, which I'm excited for and trying to grow that.
You know, at 18 months in business, that's a tremendous percentage. So congratulations. Margie, how about you? You're just celebrating 4th anniversary. What's your percentage repeat grown to?
We've always been about a third. So a third internet, a third networking, and a third of repeat. However, what happened is that's in the numbers category. In the dollars volume, it became much, much bigger for us in the repeat business. I would say it's probably closer to 60%, could be more. I haven't looked at that number recently, but it's the word of mouth that from the repeat customer is like, oh, I had a great experience, and then they tell someone else. It's just kind of a chain effect. And like Ken said, if you show up and you do what you say you're going to do, you're going to win. It's just people like to work with people who say they're going to do what they're going to do and do it. It's not a very complicated formula. It's just a lot of people get somehow bogged down and they aren't able to execute to that.
Mark, what percentage of your business today is now repeat business?
Mine would be above 70%, 70 to 80%.
I would tell you that 80% of my money came from less than 15 customers. It came back week after week and month after month and year after year. You know, back to the competition thing. The competition isn't using software to juggle and manage each of the projects, to timestamp each project of how much time I'm going to take to design it, to print it, to assemble it, to install it. So we can actually have a workflow that we can make commitments to customers and manage it rather than scratching my head and saying, I think I'll have it done in a couple of weeks. Mark, what's your next question?
You know, I don't believe I have any others right now. I'm just, I know I mentioned already, I'm kind of in a very early phase here, just listening and absorbing and processing. And I appreciate, again, you inviting me. So it's been lots and lots of information to digest here. So thank you.
Very good. TJ, how about another question from you?
It's not really a question, it's more of a statement. I like the idea of the signs because of the fact that you can go after elephants and you can go after rabbits. And, you know, the big deal always can be out there.
Any side of that? Anything you want to?
I can talk to that. I was, in the very beginning, I was learning about how to make a sign. And then we decided to make a conscious effort at identifying our ideal customer. We made a list of what that looked like, what their criteria was for us to do business with them and vice versa. And once we identified how we were going to do that and who that was, we became really successful in getting those, and we're growing that business. It's not 100% easy, but it's, at least I know that this is my ideal customer and it's going to lead to even bigger business in the next year. It's just been a building block type of process.
Very good. Corbin, any thoughts?
I think what I'd like to share is that at a certain point, after you get, like Margie was talking about, you kind of figure out the business. I trained my sign maker on how to take orders. And so really she handles everything now underneath $1,000. And that frees me up to go after the bigger opportunities. So where I'm not really chasing those rabbits anymore, but we're still getting them. And they can be very profitable, high margin projects that can keep a portion of your business going. Those print projects for banners or wall murals or things like that, that don't necessarily need my involvement. My team can handle those soup to nuts, and that frees me up to tackle the bigger, more exciting, more interesting and longer lasting and riskier projects.
Mark, rabbits and elephants?
Our average sale is $6,000. And that's a bit unusual. You find yourself realizing that, it's really, really easy, no matter what business you're in, it's really easy to let the business start to manage you, and you become an order taker, and your job is providing customer service and making sure jobs get done. And then you're sitting at your desk one day and you realize that the second largest city in your county is only 5 miles down the road. And geez, when is the last time we did a sign permit in the city of Lawrenceville? Man, it's probably been 6 months. Is there probably something wrong with that? And is that exposing you? Is that showing you, number one, a weakness, and number two, an opportunity? I get so focused on projects that are coast to coast that you kind of forget that while I'm getting stronger nationally, I'm getting weaker locally. And again, that's an opportunity. So, you tweak a few things here in terms of your marketing and next thing you know, you're starting, local sales, or you look at your work in progress list and you've got 15 projects in Gwinnett County alone, or in the city of Lawrenceville, you have 5. And so it's, this business it's fun. It is strategizing all the time. It's, Corbin just mentioned the small projects can become huge projects. My second largest customer is the Gwinnett County School District. We've sold somewhere around 90 LED displays at an average of $22,000 a display. Well, that started by volunteering to do discounted coroplast yard signs that say things like Ethan Parkview football. That's how that project started. We don't market it, we don't advertise it, it's all word of mouth. $1.8 million later, we can thank Coroplast Signs for that project.
So I've got a question for the three of you. You had choices when you were looking at businesses. The business coach you worked through showed you different things. Why was Signworld your finalist? What made this become the one that you chose? Margie?
I would say no royalties, no rules.
Okay. Corbin, what was your defining factors?
I can eat harder questions. This one's easy. Signworld is not a franchise. No royalties, no rules. I can build the company the way that I want to build it with my vision, and build it how I want to.
Mark?
I would agree with what both Corbin and Margie said. I would also add that, I wanted to have a presence in the community. I love community relationships. I love going to the high school football games. My kids were both athletes, and I wanted to be in a business that I could, in my own way, give back to the community. And this business offers the opportunity to do that. I also would much prefer selling channel letters to selling bottles of water. In other words, I'd rather sell $6,000 a time with a 65% markup at cost than make 11 cents per bottle of water or whatever the case may be. And so I viewed Signworld as a place where I knew that if I put in the efforts and the time, the payoff, I could build it's like owning a house versus working in living in an apartment. You build equity. Part of Signworld is building an income, getting a 6-figure income. And part of it is building something that you can sell 6, 8, 10, 12, 20 years later. And that's huge.
Corbin?
Can I do part two?
Sure.
Secondarily to what I shared and Margie shared, I think, and equally as important to me when I made the decision, was the network that Signworld affords. For someone who didn't know exterior signs and a lot about signs I didn't know, I've relied very heavily on not just the people that are on this call, who I have relied very heavily on, but also other Signworld owners, both in and out of my network. Kevin Hall in Texas for pole signs, just incredible and true what you're told.
For myself, I made a list of 35 things that are important for me. Some involved what my daily life was going to be. Some involved the economics. Some involved my family around it. Everything else my coach showed me got kicked out for multiple reasons. Yet Signworld hit all 35. It was the everyday different. It was being able to see the results. It was a small staff. It was career employees, not transactional employees. It was repeatable customers, not one-time customers, just on and on and on. So I challenge all of you looking at this. Make a list of what's important and compare it to the other options you're looking at and really making sure it fits you. TJ, Mark, Chris, another question from one of you?
I don't, thank you.
Okay.
I just want to say thanks. Appreciate the time.
Excellent. You're more than welcome, TJ. Chris, one last question from you.
No, I have no more questions. I want to thank you for the time. And I really like the process you guys have created here and allowing us an opportunity to talk with 3 of your business owners. This is really, really helpful. So I appreciate that.
You're more than welcome. There's a lot more to this process. Talking to other Signworld owners, digging through documentation. We have the last 15, 18 of these webinars recorded over the last couple of years. So you can hear how we work through COVID and what life is like. While they're redundant in format, the value of watching a number of them is panel of owners is different each time. The questions are different each time. So it really helps you make sure you turn over all your rocks. Know that one of the big steps to this process is coming to a discovery day. We have one tomorrow, which is too soon for any of you. We have 2 more before the end of the year, and they're each quite different. Normally, you come out to Orange County, California, spend a full day there, where we tour 3 operations as a group. You're there with other Signworld owners that have flown in for the day to share the experience. Typically, we have a couple of business coaches that have flown in for the day, understand us better. You're there with others. We have a graduation dinner for those going through technical training. So over the course of the day, you probably meet 10 Signworld. There's a lot of interaction. That is happening on Friday, November 18th. Because of travel during the holidays, our December Discovery Day is a virtual one. Be a Zoom day like this, part of it being a panel discussion like we've had today, part of being some hour-long one-on-one interviews with Signworld owners and getting a virtual tour of their operation. Getting to hear from Terry, our technical trainer, just to see what equipment looks like. Learning from Dan Werner, our director of operations, what internet marketing is like. That will happen on, Sheree, help me, the date on that is Friday, December 12th. So
December 16th.
16th, I'm sorry. So you have 2 options as far as checking Signworld out deeper, whether you can be ready for that November 18th. Not that it needs to be a decision day. You can go back home and do homework, but at least you get that live interaction day rather than the still very good, but not as good
December 16th virtual day. So Corbin, Margie, Mark, thank you all for taking time out of your busy days. We appreciate you guys, and congratulations on all the work you're doing and all the work in progress you got.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Nice to meet you, Margie and Corbin.
Yeah. Mark, I do business for you. My gosh.
You probably have talked to my project managers.
I work with Rachel. Is that right? Demi.
Demi, yeah,
Yeah.
Demi, yes. Yeah,
Funny.
well, great to meet you. Great to
You
put
too.
a face to the name.
Have a great day, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Take care.
Yeah.